today as well. And what I'm going to talk about today is something that's very close to my heart, especially with the church itself and kind of the design or some of the things that we deal with. I'm going to talk about a topic that I feel like most people that have ever studied the Word or had a whole lot of talks about the process of coming into church or being a part of the kingdom, that they're pretty familiar with. So the verses I'm going to look at, and I'll give you this part of it. This is Luke 15, verses 31 through 32. This is the very end of chapter 15. And it says, "His father said to him, 'Look, dear son, you've always stayed by me, and everything I have is yours. We had to celebrate this happy day, for your brother was dead and has come back to life. He was lost, but now he's found.'" All right, so this is the conclusion of a story that a lot of times we denote as the parable of the prodigal son. And really what this all kind of stems back to is this whole chapter is three different stories of things that are lost. So you've got the parable of the lost sheep, where it's the story of a shepherd that it says, if one of the sheep is lost, what does the shepherd do? He goes out and leaves the 99 other sheep that he has to go find the one lost sheep and bring him back into the fold. And so we know that that's symbolism for how God feels about his children, which is every human being on the planet, regardless of what they do, that God will leave the 99 in a safe place to go find the one that's lost that doesn't know where it's supposed to be. The second story is the parable of the lost coin, and that one is about a woman that she has her coins, but she's missing one of them, so she sweeps the whole house completely clean to find that one lost coin. And both of those stories at the very end, you've got the whoever the character is, whether it's the shepherd in the first one, and then the woman that has the coin at the second one, that they call all their friends in and said, "Rejoice with me because I found this lost thing, and I'm just happy to have it back." So we've got the third story, which a lot of people will label the story of the prodigal son. But it's kind of referred to more as the story of the lost son in a lot of ways. And so in this story, we've got two brothers, and one of the brothers is looking for a way to go kind of do what he's always wanted to do. So he decides, Dad, I know that you've got an inheritance for me later on in your life, but I really am just worried about getting it right now and going and taking care of me. And so his father actually gives his inheritance to him, and he leaves and goes and lives a wild life, squanders all of his money, and then he makes the decision to come back home. And he doesn't make the decision to walk right back in the front door and assume the position he's been in, but he says, I'll just sleep with the pigs in the sty because that's better than where I've been. And it's kind of a story of someone coming back home or coming back to a relationship with God. And so for me, I remember studying this, it really hits home kind of looking at this, because we can look at it from a few different ways. So it's very clear in Jesus' stories, because this is all stories that he's telling to teach some very important concept, that he makes very clear at the end of every passage that we should really celebrate the people that are found through this. So the sheep, the coin, the son, that should be a celebration when we finally get them back into the fold. And actually in the chapters leading up to this time with Jesus, he's faced down with the Pharisees a couple of times, which are these big religious leaders, and he calls them out over their customs and the fact that they're way more concerned with that than about the souls of people. And they're not concerned with the lost, they're just concerned with all these rules and stuff that they set in place. And so I think it's pretty interesting that Jesus is snapping at these guys because they put their wealth, their custom, over their own personal relationship with God. It seems like everything in their life, their entire life revolved around this outward walk that they had. So it wasn't about actually internal stuff that was going on, but it was what the people could see. And it was to show other people that they were better than the other ones. So you could argue that these Pharisees, these religious guys that really thought they had it all together, that they were lost. It was just in a very different way. It's also really, really interesting if you note the difference between the parable of the lost sheep and coin from the story of the lost son, because if you notice from the little tidbits I gave you, and I encourage you to read this chapter to kind of get some more clarity on it. But the first two stories, we've got things that are lost that don't really know their way back. Sheep are pretty famous for not really knowing what to do on their own. They just kind of follow. And so that sheep that got lost, it kind of wandered out on its own, but it had no way of getting back. And the same thing, a coin is not going to find its way back on top of the table right in sight. Like if you lose your car keys or your phone or something like that, it doesn't magically find its way back to somewhere where you can find it. Sometimes you have to sweep the whole house to find it. And so it's different because the story of the lost son, we've got a son that chooses to come back home and rejoin the fold on his own accord. And it's not just him actually jumping back in or assuming position, but he just wanted to be back in his father's land because he knew it was better even at the bottom than it would be being out where he had been. And so this lost son faced the opposition of other people's opinions when he got back, while the lost coin and sheep just kind of showed the role of God reaching out to find the lost. And we can kind of think of us that have a relationship with God as being the arms and legs of God to go find those people and to find the lost and to bring them back in, have a relationship. So there's two different things I want to really talk about here with prodigals, or these lost people, okay? And I've got some different terms I've kind of played around with. This is a concept I've been working on for a while. The first one is those who are lost. So we do have some people that are not seeking to return because they don't even know that they're somewhere that's not in the fold. So these are the people that maybe have never experienced a relationship with God, or they've never been to a church service. They don't see the purpose that God serves in their life. They don't see what's needed because they just have never experienced that gap. And so those people, it's a completely different way that we approach it because they honestly, a lot of times, they don't know any different. It's not like they've experienced it and left from it. It's just they don't realize that they are the children of God and that He loves them so deeply that He came and sacrificed His time on earth just for them to have a shot in the future. So they have no idea how important they are to God and how much He loves them and cares about them. And these are the people we have to seek out and bring into the family. And a lot of times they can be some of the easier ones because if we really are experiencing the love and hope and peace of God, those things are attractive to people that don't have that, because that's what we see all over our culture, is that people want those things. People desperately want love in their life. That's why we've got so much in our culture that's catered towards romance and towards people finding the person that completes them. It's because that's what people want. They want to feel loved. They want to feel complete. So we have to find those people who need a relationship with God and make it known, to let them know, hey, I have the answer for you. I know what you're looking for. This is something I've experienced. And so it should challenge us to go deeper so that we can send that message to people that don't have it. All right, so the second part of this is we've got prodigals, or people that are lost, that have come back of their own accord. And they don't really expect any welcome from people because they know what living for God looks like. They've gone and left, and they either don't know that they would be welcome back, or they're just not willing to say, I think I was wrong about this and I'm ready. But they chose to leave pursuing something else entirely. There's something about this relationship that they either were hurt by people, or they are confused about something that's happened in life that has pushed them away from a relationship with God. And I feel like sometimes we look at these lost individuals, the people who have left, and we minimize our impact on their return. And like we just say, they'll come back when they're ready. But most of the time, I've found that these people want to come back, but they just assume that they won't be welcomed back. And honestly, for us, it doesn't matter if they spit in your face on the way out. It doesn't matter if they say things about you as they leave. They are always welcome back in this family. And it is not our position to keep them from coming back in here. If we're sitting walking on the edge of our fence around our community, and we're just so worried about people that have done something in the past, that's pretty short-sighted to not realize that we were once in their position, or we once were one of those lost, and that we are holding them back from finally being back in the family. So when the prodigal son, or this lost son, left, he asked for his inheritance from his father. And to kind of give you a perspective of me saying, it doesn't matter if they spit in your face on the way out. This guy was literally saying, hey, Dad, I know I'm supposed to wait until you're dead, but I just want to pretend that you are, and just give me everything that I was promised, and I'll just pretend you're dead. That's kind of what I want to do. I'm not worried about actually waiting this out. I would rather just us move past this and me never have a relationship with you again, because I want to pretend that you don't exist anymore. And that same father that he said that to, that had his son tell him, hey, I'm just going to pretend you're dead, he was the one that ran out to greet him and was so excited to see him back. So we want to make sure, because the last section of this story, I had it that, I read about the actual conversation between the father and the other son, because we don't always focus on his response, because the other son just kind of gets perturbed a little bit. He doesn't get like angry and mad, but he's just kind of upset that all of this stuff that the father is doing for the son that has gone away and left. And we want to make sure that our response should resemble that of the father and not of this other brother, because we can't stew to ourselves over the way that they left or what they said while they were gone, because they knew that the true life that they wanted to lead was back home, and if they could just get back, that it would be better. We can't lose hope in people. They're not all walking around seeming to take advantage of us. They're not trying to make us look dumb by coming back into it and us treating us good. I don't want to treat people that way. I would rather be deceived by someone than harden my heart to them and then keep them from an eternity with God, or keep them from feeling like I'm a member of their family, because that's going to be an awkward encounter in eternity if I kind of pushed them out or didn't want them to be back in. So one of these is kind of not like the other. I want to make sure that I'm not holding them back from it coming into the fold. So last thing I want to talk about here is those who have stayed, because a lot of us, if you've been raised in church, if you've stayed kind of in this and you haven't gone off and done the wild living that we hear about with the lost son, it's also a lesson that we can learn as well. Because at the same time all this is happening, there are people that have stayed home, and that's exactly what they did. They got to stay home and enjoy the blessings of living in God's house. They don't have to experience the hopelessness, the crushing, selfishness of the world. They don't have to experience the lack of hope, the lack of peace, all the chaos that they'll see in the world. And so why would we be jealous of someone that had to go out and experience the worst of what society has, instead of welcoming them when they get back in? Because they're the ones that had it rough, not you. You got to stay home and live in the Father's house and reap the blessings and enjoy all the good things about living back at the Father's house. And they had to leave and experience the ruthlessness of the world. And how dare we ever act the same way that those people do that are out in that ruthlessness part of it? So it's pathetic sometimes that we would be angry at people that are choosing to live a better life just because of our position. Because it's not about us. It's about them realizing their position in the kingdom. They're realizing where true life actually exists. And so why would we be upset about them coming home? Because the whole point of the story, those verses that I read, I'll read them again. So Luke 15, 31 through 32, his father said to him, this is the father speaking to the other son, not the lost son. Look, dear son, you've always stayed by me, and everything I have is yours. We had to celebrate this happy day, for your brother was dead and has come back to life. He was lost, but now he's found. So it's kind of a message if you're each stage of this. So if you're somebody that's lost, don't ever lose sight of the fact, or somebody that was lost and has come back into it, don't ever lose sight of the fact that that's where you came from, that you are someone that had no experience, that didn't know what you were missing, and keep striving to find those people. If you're someone that's left and come back, continue to reach out for those people, because your testimony of understanding what it was like to leave and come back is going to be something that will reach somebody on a very deep level. And the same thing, if you're one of the people that have stayed through all of it, we always kind of take away from our own testimonies or say, like, I wish I had something like them, that they were delivered from all this, or, I wish I had never gone out into the world and I stayed here the whole time. We have to understand that our testimony is that. It's our testimony. And it enables us to reach people that have a similar background, but also people that were outside of it, because they speak to different levels and different personalities. But we're a part of this wonderful kingdom where we've got so many different kinds of people and so many different things they come from. And we just all are going to the same mission of, we want to live in eternity in the Father's house, and we want to live in his kingdom. And we need to let people know that have left that they're still welcome home. We need to go find the people that are lost and bring them back in. That's what it's all going to be about. And so you need to kind of probably take a mental note. There's probably somebody that's come to your mind in something in here of, there might be a person that they've never experienced anything like this, and they've kind of talked about that. They're generally a pretty depressed person. They don't really have a lot of contact with anyone, or they've been just going through some stuff. I would maybe seek that out and just maybe try to get closer to that person. In this time, I mean, maybe not physically closer, but we got a lot of different resources right now and time to kind of explore those things. And people are more open to exploring those feelings right now because everybody's kind of been down in a lot of ways throughout the entire nation. In the same way, as I'm talking about this, you might have somebody that pops into your mind of somebody who has left that you would love to see back, that you loved seeing their face. They brought such a different spirit to an experience in church, in Tsunami, and you miss having them around. Check on them. Send them a message and say, hey, I just want to let you know that I missed you all this time, and I really miss those things about you. Because sometimes we think that it'd be kind of lame to talk about the things we like about people, but people love to hear that. And they might need that from you. They might need someone to feel like they actually played a part in it, or they were some integral part of a community, and you might be the person to say it. So I encourage you to go out and try to find people, those who are lost, those who have left, and then the people who have stayed in the middle of it. That should be a constant check for us, that those that are still in the church, that we don't get this attitude of, I'm just mad that we're celebrating these people that are new, because that's just crazy. All right, so on that note, I'm going to go ahead and close up here with some prayer. Remember, tonight, Tsunami Live at 7 o'clock from Living Way Pentecostal Church. You can go on the Living Way website. You can go to the YouTube. There's plenty of links, different ways that you can watch online, but come out and support, comment along with it. They're going to be doing some cool stuff. I think the note that they had earlier is make sure that you're watching from a tablet or a computer whenever you're doing the service game that they have, because you'll need to take pictures on your phone as part of a scavenger hunt. So go check out that video. I believe it was the handsome Dallas Keating that actually put all that on there, so you can go look at his good looking face, and hopefully it'll inspire you to be a part of it. So I'll pray for you guys, and then we're gonna go ahead and call it a day. So Lord, thank you for this day. Thank you for this time. Thank you for reminding us, Lord, of our role that we play in the kingdom, that it's not just that we are a part, Lord, or that we're gone away, that you want us to be centered in the middle of this kingdom, Lord, that you want a relationship with each and every person, that you want us as a family, and that we should be striving to find those people that are lost, that are away, or striving the people that are on the fringes looking to find something else. And we want to gather people in during this time, that even with the physical distancing that we have right now, Lord, that we still can emotionally be together, Lord, and spiritually get closer to you. We're excited for everything that you're doing with this group. We're believing for great things for Tsunami going forward. We ask all this in Jesus' name. So 7 o'clock, guys, Tsunami Live. So don't miss it, or you're going to be pretty upset with yourself.